What you're about to see is from Rebel Base, IGN's weekly Star Wars show. He loves it.
Disney chairman Bob Iger has said there will be more Star Wars, and he's actually also said the Marvel movies will continue forever.
Yeah.
There's so many characters, but some people are quoting him saying he said that about Star Wars.
Yeah.
But what he's saying that there will be more after the Star Wars films that we know about.
Of course there is. Yeah.
I don't know how many, I don't know how often, but they'll keep going on. So it's very probable that you and I and people watching or listening to the show will never live to see the end of Star Wars. And I wanted to kind of talk about whether you think that's a good thing. Is it better that the story should have an end like it used to?
No. I think maybe like the trilogy can have, it can be a trilogy but still go on, because there's absolutely no way that John Boyega and Daisy Ridley have only got another 2 Star Wars films in them. No way, man.
So
they are new heroes. We're gonna see them. We're gonna see them forever in old stuff. Old John Boyega. Yeah.
So what I was going to say is, to get back to this thing, there's this thing where you can regard the episodic films based on what we know so far as being like the story of the Skywalkers.
Yeah.
That's the one element that kind of goes through all of them.
Yeah.
It's Anakin, and then it's Anakin and his children.
Yeah.
And then going forward, it is the grandson of Anakin.
Yeah.
So again, you've got the Skywalker thing going through there. When this comes to an end, like, do you mean just keep, like, basically we're going to keep the episodic films as just like, it has to have these core characters in them?
No.
Or like after episode 9 finishes, you could start up a new trilogy with completely new characters?
Yeah, I think so.
Really?
Yeah.
Rather than keep them as like more kind of side story things?
Because like it could just be, right now we're seeing, 9 films in a galaxy far, far away. We could see another 9 films in a galaxy far away. Far, far, far away. Do you know what I mean? Like, the galaxy's massive. Like, there's no reason these can't
and the
go on
universe
forever.
is bigger.
Exactly.
So
there you go. I meant to say universe. But there we go. So, I don't know. I like the point that maybe it will finish like but I never thought, even though they've always said this is going to be a trilogy, I've never thought that's the end of Star Wars episode blah, 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 blah. I think it's going to go on forever.
That's so weird considering just a few short years ago,
what's happening with Star Wars?
There's no more Star Wars. We had some Clone Wars. We were filling in gaps.
We had some Clone Wars.
There was going to be like no more Star Wars, and now we're in a position where we feel like, I don't know, like it is great that there's always going to be Star Wars around, but I do find it. Does it undermine, do you think, the story that it won't have an ending, that it's not all going to be planned, like it's going to keep on growing in organic ways, which is what the expanded universe did. And it's what, like, again, obviously they're both owned by Disney now.
Yeah.
But it's actually a really good comparison for what could happen to Star Wars in movies, is what happened to Marvel Comics in comics. You know, you've got all these different writers and artists and creative people working with a shared group of characters. Building stories, sharing stories, and doing their own thing. And the thing that happens with comic books periodically, same that happened in the expanded universe, you get to a point where it's just
bonkers.
It's like an unweeded garden, and you're like, oh my god, it was pretty, but now it's just chaos. We're gonna have to like trim back and like reboot.
But I think,
and it's like you get to a point where you do so many reboots, and in comics it's almost become a thing in itself that it's so bonkers. But you don't want to get to a position where things get like wiped away.
No,
we've had that already.
I do think that, but I think that's why Disney are in a really, really good position, that they've taken on Marvel and taken on all the smart people in Marvel, but also looked at what has happened to Marvel, and because if you try to explain, if you had a proper Marvel historian sit down and tell you about something, about what's happened in the universe, right? Give you a truncated version. They sat with you down for 2 hours and say, this is how it started, then this happened. Go through all the big stuff. And you were telling to someone you were trying to sell comics to, like say you wanted to get those people into comics. Those people would turn around and they'd never read another Marvel comic again. Like I sometimes feel it, like I'm into comics, but I sometimes feel like super alienated, but I'm just like,
but hence like initiatives like Marvel Now and now all new, all different. Like this is what I'm saying, like this one is almost the most kind of aggressive of all the reboots in recent years, following Secret Wars and Battle World. It's like we're resetting all our continuity. Obviously, it's great to have issue ones because people buy them and get on board. And that's kind of what, even though it's episode 7, it's almost like the equivalent of a Marvel issue 1, because it's like we're resetting a lot of the other Star Wars, and it's very friendly for you to get back involved.
I think so, but with this though, I think they can look at I think Disney can look at that Marvel stuff. But with Star Wars, I think by getting rid of the expanded universe, they're basically just controlling it. Like they've got a really big control on
they're
how
controlling
things,
it. Sure, but like they're controlling it to a degree, just like as every editor-in-chief of Marvel controls the universe to a degree during his tenure.
Yeah.
But 20, 30 years hence, it just inevitably gets uncontrolled because they're not planning where they're going to be 30 years hence. It's just like...
Maybe they are?
Small, no, but it's like, it's an accretive process where like little change, and eventually you go, oh, wow, can we do this for this character? Actually, we can't because in Rogue One, that person died, so that do you know what I mean? Like...
No, I completely get what you mean.
And you want to get, and that's one of the reasons they reset it, because they wanted to give new storytellers the freedom to tell stories they couldn't.
Yeah.
But every time they make more and more films, Marvel are publishing a lot of comics, so it's kind of, which are canon. So that, there's one of them like, in each series a month at least. Very quickly, they're filling in gaps. Like already, Han Solo has a wife, based on the comics before Leia. You get into these restricted positions. That will have an impact. What maybe could happen in the Han Solo movie?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting, Daniel.
Does it depress you though that you won't see the end of Star Wars?
Nah.